Well, hey guys, it's the Deej, and I'm trying to do this type of live event solo without my man Chris Stone, who's normally pressing buttons and doing all sorts of stuff behind the scenes, and so it's just me. But fortunately, today, I have an awesome opportunity to interview somebody who is actually going to help me personally. And if it can help you too, then we're in the same house. And so that's good. All right. So please help me welcome my new friend, Jacqui Barrett-Poindexter. Come on by.
Hi.
Jacqui, how are you doing?
I'm good. How are you, Dan?
I'm awesome. I'm so excited to see you for several reasons. One is you had the courage to come on here and talk to me. But two, did you marry into that name, Poindexter?
I did.
Oh my God.
Robert Poindexter. Yep.
He must be one good-looking dude. I tell you what.
He really is. Yeah. I embrace the name.
Well, you gotta help me here because I really want to find out what we spoke on the phone. Actually, you were one of those people that I met on LinkedIn.
Yes.
And on LinkedIn, I figured out that there are certain kinds of people, and the people who actually put their telephone numbers on LinkedIn occasionally get a phone call from me.
Yeah.
And so so you were one of those people that were brave enough to put your telephone number on there. And by the way, I want to ask you, is that a positive for you?
It is. I actually don't receive many calls, so that was a nice surprise. You stood out.
You really? So even with that, you don't receive any calls?
Not very many. And once in a while, a prospective client will call me and through that, perhaps, or through my website. I'm never sure, but no, very rarely. Yeah.
And then so then why are people afraid to do it?
I don't know. I think people are just so digitally inclined. They just send me emails or PMs through LinkedIn. Yeah.
Digitally inclined. Listen to you and your famous stuff. All right. So so here's the issue. So you deal with executives, right?
Yes.
All right. And so now, do you find that these executives, do you encourage them to put their telephone number on LinkedIn?
Not necessarily. I encourage them to put their private email on there so that people know how to get through them directly versus having to connect through LinkedIn and all of that. So I don't really do the phone number. I don't really encourage it one way or the other, I guess.
Well, no. Okay. So it's not a benefit. So here's the thing. So you help executives get jobs.
Yes.
Right.
Well,
and
I help them market themselves for roles. So I don't go to the extent of helping them look for the job after we do the executive resume or LinkedIn profile.
So what do you, so who is your customer? Who's your best customer?
So my best customer are people that are either in the C-suite or striving for the C-suite at some point. Maybe they're emerging, maybe they're early in their career, but mostly people that hire me are people that are already on that path. Maybe they're director, VP, or a CEO or CFO or CMO or all the different C-level who need help building their personal brand and visibility online and offline, so that they have the stories to tell that really market their value.
Well, so give me an example of somebody that you've helped, because this is an issue, because I do a lot of jobs. It's like my volunteer thing. I help people with finding jobs. And the challenge is they made good money, they were in a good position and all that stuff. But when they find themselves, in job seeking mode, they seem to go right back into as if they have to start from zero again.
Right. Or they don't know, they're afraid. Like, so for example, I might have someone who says, I was always taught you just do a one-page resume and then it's a very bland, plain vanilla, nothing burger, it's very boring. And so these are people with 15, 20, 30 years of experience, and they need to distill it, but they don't want to distill it so that it's at that point that it's bland and has no pizzazz. So they're afraid to tout their value because they've always been growing their career through their experience and through their reputation. But some people are wanting to get their story out to someone who's never heard of them, even though they may be known everywhere else in their industry. And so,
but doesn't that make them feel old?
It,
I mean, if you've got 30 years in the business, you're old. Are they not self-conscious of that? Yes. I say they as if I'm not one of them.
Yeah, I am too. And so what I tell them is, well, two things. One, embrace your experience, and they're going to, people are going to ultimately know your age, or they're going to have a general idea if you've had deep experience. So even if you hide it at first and say, 15 years of experience, and you kind of drop the early career, at some point, of course, they're going to see your picture on LinkedIn if you have a current one, or on a video call like we're doing today. But also stay current, so really focus on what you've done lately. And the last 10 to 15 years. So really draw the heart of your story from the last 10 to 15 years. But don't just drop the early experience. There may be 1 or 2 or 10 points from your early career that will set you apart, that tell that early, what shaped you, what made you who you are today.
I once got a job early on. I would just apply for jobs, but I got called in for an interview, and the reason was the person said, I just wanted to see the person who made such a terrible resume.
Hey, it got you in, didn't it?
It was exactly right. I actually put my only experience on there was like a hitchhiking trip, so I put that on, like a hitchhiking trip. So are stories like that because that was a life-changing kind of event for me. Are stories like that effective for an executive?
They can be a piece of it. An executive has to follow some of the strategic transformation, all the words that talk about results, but yes, you want to thread in some of that, the hitchhiking, maybe you hitchhiked, wherever, whether it's nationally or internationally, you want to bring some of that in. You might introduce, your story that way, and then it builds upon what you're doing today. So yeah.
So you keep talking about a story like it's different. So you're saying it's not like a normal resume, and this is what I was intrigued by when I first met you. Do your resumes look like other people's resumes after you get done with these?
I don't think they do. No, I do a lot of detail a lot of context. And so when I talk about the story, I talk about what have you done? What was a challenge you faced? What was, the hurdles you crossed to face that challenge and to get to the other side with people or processes? And then what were the results? And so there's going to be some sort of, initial storyline, and then there's going to be a climax, and then there's going to be a resolution, sort of like a story, whether it's a short story or whatever. And you don't want to leave out those hurdles. What didn't go well? What was what person or maybe was trying to get in the way, or what team or what culture issue were you facing, and how did you penetrate that, and how did you go around it or build something new? And that's detail, and a lot of people are afraid of the detail. They think it's too much, but it always works. I mean, 99% of the time, at least.
No, what's the purpose of a resume now? Now that there's LinkedIn and this whole thing, what's the purpose of it? Is it to get you the interview, or what?
Yeah, well, two things. One, they being people who are hiring, whether it's your human resources or the hiring manager, they still want to see a resume most of the time. And there's always those exceptional stories where you read, oh, I didn't need a resume. But and also it can give you an opportunity to build value beyond LinkedIn. LinkedIn has its limitations, even on number of characters, the number of words you can use. A resume, you can go beyond that, and maybe even provide some detail that you don't want to share publicly about your achievements, or about numbers, or different results.
Oh, yeah. I didn't even think of that. That makes sense. Do top higher executives, big time, C-suite people, where do they find people? I mean, do they go on LinkedIn I mean, how do you get to these people?
So how do we get to
Yeah, well, how does somebody find them? You create this beautiful, work of art, this CV or this resume that you have.
right?
Now what?
So, well, yeah. So LinkedIn is a huge. I mean, everyone should be on LinkedIn, even if it doesn't net you what you want. Executive recruiters are searching on LinkedIn. So a CEO may be looking for their next VP, and they have a recruiter that is retained to find someone, and recruiters, of course, have their own network, but they use LinkedIn as well. Or the actual executive may build relationships, but also if the executive who is wanting to be found or wanting to find a new opportunity, they are also doing their own targeted conversations, whether it's meeting people through LinkedIn or not. So, and then the resume is necessary as a follow-on. You want to have more of your story that will lay out who you are in a way that will be intriguing, but also give them content.
Oh, hold on. You disappeared for a second.
Oh, now it's just me.
Even better. All right. Well, so how did you get into this, by the way?
So for my first, it's just me. Are you still there?
Yes, I want to give it just to you. That's the whole idea.
I like to, so I studied writing in college. I have a bachelor's degree in writing, not English, not journal. I have a journalism emphasis, but so I always wanted to write. One of my first jobs, the first year out of college, was for a professional resume writing service downtown Kansas City, Missouri. I only lasted there about 6 months. I was very young, and you had to sell, and you ran the whole office. So I did okay, but I did fine with my writing, but I had to be the whole thing. So then I worked in corporate America for about 12 years, maybe 12 or 15. And then when my company was going through some changes and my boss was leaving, I took a package deal and left. So all that to say is I decided this was my opportunity to try to do my own thing. And I started out as a writer who did marketing. I did restaurant menu. I did, all kinds of brochures. I didn't know what I wanted to do. I just knew I wanted to write. And one of my first clients that first 6 months was called Career Trend, which is now my company. And I consulted for them, and I handled their day-to-day client base, sold them a resume, wrote them a resume, sold them a resume, wrote. And a year later, they kind of contracting the story is the year later, they offered to sell me. They were spinning that little piece of their company off, which was Career Trend. And now I own it. So that was in like 24 years ago. But
really? So you've been doing this for 24 years.
Yeah.
And you must have tremendous success stories with people.
Yeah, I have a lot of success. I mean, I have a lot of stories. I mean, that first 10 years, is building and figuring out who you are. It was all a brick and mortar business when I started in Overland Park, Kansas. I'm in Texas now. And I rented office space, and I was basically handling clients that had accumulated over the prior years, and then marketing myself through Yellow Pages ads. I don't.
Oh yeah.
Now, but and then the internet and really blew up, and I built a website or had someone build it for me, and started going to conferences and getting certifications and networking and refining my craft, because writing an executive resume is a lot harder than, if you're doing it right, than just throwing together a career history. So
that's great. So do you have people with you? Or is it all you?
So I have a team of about a handful of writers who support me, and they're behind the scenes. so that the clients can just know that they're working with me from end to end. I do the ultimate strategy and final writing, so that you get my certified master resume writer skills on each project. I'm very involved, but for each project, I bring a writer in to help take like 30 pages of information and helps me to winnow it down. And then
this is fascinating. So you really go. So how's business, by the way?
It's good.
Yeah. So now,
one of my better years.
Are people that are employed? Do you do business for a lot of people who are employed right now and just trying to up their resume?
Yes, I'd say probably about like 95% right now that I'm working with are employed. That's not what, it kind of goes up and down, obviously. But most people I'm with right now, but I've had also a lot of people who have been in transition who like in the retail sector was really hard hit, especially during COVID, and oil and gas. So some of those people had received were transitioning. So I kind of have, I've had a real mix.
Well, so how do you get your business now? It's just all through referral?
So I'd say at least 75% referral, but I still get people finding me on LinkedIn or, just Googling me, because I do for about 10 years, I've done a lot of professional blogging as well. It's helped with my visibility. And that's helped. Yeah,
and so you get out there. That's excellent. And you said business is good right now, which is amazing because you would think everybody be working. And have your prices gone up, down, or stayed the same over these 24 years?
So you're really good questions, but
stick with me, kid.
I knew that. I've listened to your videos and your live. So they've gone up a lot. I mean, when I bought the business, it was, here's how it was. A one-page resume was $75. A two-page resume was $150 or $175. I can't remember. And then it was $125, and but now I'm just, it's been so many years and so many credentials, and I've evolved with the times. I haven't just stayed in like one little niche. I've kind of evolved. And so, I'll say it because it's all on my website. My basic package is $2,699 because it's a process they go through. It's like a 6-week process at minimum that I take them through.
Yeah, well, no, don't apologize for it. Listen to you. This is a sales show. All right, don't apologize. That's exactly right. You listen. The fact that you charge $2,600 versus $75, it automatically denotes that you have a tremendous amount of value. And the fact is, if you're taking a C-level person from $100,000 to $250,000, what's $2,600? Doing a year.
You're right.
That's all. It's embarrassing to charge less than that. But for that, you have to bring the goods. So do you have stories like that one I just made up where someone upgraded both their salary and their position through your help?
Yeah, and I wish I could just pull one out of the hat that, I am, and because it's so confidential what I do, I don't, but I mean, I can tell general. But yeah, I have people, and some of them who have been generous and given me recommendations publicly. And they're people that are, I'm looking away. I feel like, okay, I should. Look at
the camera.
Sorry about that.
That's okay. Don't apologize.
So I have a lot of people who have, I'm thinking of one who, not necessarily C-suite, but someone that's in very, senior level in her career, who has come back to me more than once. And just this past few months, we worked together again. And she's always giving me such good feedback that, not only was the resume she used to receive the role that she's currently in, because we were updating it to bring that onto the page, but that the manager, the owner, the person that hired her said that it was the best story they'd ever seen, the best resume. They use it as samples within their organization. And she considers what we do life coaching, because we're talking about, their goals and their objectives and the type of what they're wanting to do and the type of people they want to work around, the type of culture. That's an overused word now, but it's true. We want to be in the right environment, and how do we get there, and how do we take away things from the resume that will make it sound like you're wanting to be all things to all people, because no one really wants that. And then you get yourself into interview conversations that are wasting everyone's time and energy because you haven't been forthcoming about what your goals are. So I really, really, really make sure that before we even put a first word on the resume that we are clear on where they're wanting to go, what type of organization, what type of board or C-suite or, leader they want to be working either with, shoulder to shoulder, or for, and as they grow forward.
Well, that's worth $2,600. You need to actually raise your prices.
Well, I have some that are more than that. So.
Okay. It's total life coaching, because you're right. If you think about it, if you make yourself too out there, broad with your approach that you're all things to all people, at the end of the day, you need one job. At the end of the day, you need one husband or one wife. That's it.
Right. I agree.
Listen, there are some people, believe it or not, Jacqui, there are some people that don't like the DIJ. I know you're thinking that's crazy talk. I know, but I only need one wife.
That's right.
I just need one. And so and once you know exactly what you want, if you focus just on that, then it appears. It's like when, I need to get a new car. That means nothing because you're looking around, there's a million cars out there. But once you zero in on the type of vehicle that you want,
yes,
not only are you able to find it, but then you see there's like a million all over the place. That's all you see is the car that you have.
Right. It becomes clear, and all of a sudden those types of opportunities, cars, wives, jobs, they start to stand out because you've identified it and you've clarified it.
You know exactly what you want. And I always tell people in sales training and all this stuff, it's enough with finding your why. I got it. I know what your why is. Your why is you want to be welcomed into heaven from God saying, come on in. You've done well, my good and faithful servant. That's what everybody's why is. They want to feel good about themselves. Why do you want to make a lot of money? So I can support my family. Why do you want to support your family? Because it'll make me feel good. Why do you want to feel good? Because, that's what God wants. At the end of the day, it's the whole thing. So I know your why. Instead, focus on your what. Focus on what you really want, where you really want to go. That kind of pin on it, and wake up in the morning and then you ask yourself the question, how do I get it? And so if you give them the tools, and then they start asking themselves the question, how do I find this? How do I find this? It will appear. With that type of thing. So your tool is not only something to make somebody more, make their lives better because they know their destination. It's really a marketing tool.
Yes, absolutely. A marketing tool. And, you asked about, so I try to make them visually and compelling, the word. At heart, I'm a writer. And so I will use bold language and metaphors and whatever. And I have to, I try to make sure clients are comfortable with the type of language and stories I tell, because it's going to make them a little uncomfortable when they see it, even if they've looked at my samples. But yeah, it's definitely marketing. I had one client for a technology organization that he was targeting. And one of the, at the time, I've had people with Apple and, all the different, and he sent the resume in, the recruiter called him on the resume we wrote and said, it was a little bit over the top, but because of that, I had to meet you. So, we get it. We are afraid sometimes of being a little bit brilliant in these areas, but this is a time to kind of bring that brilliance out because people will be intrigued. Yeah, it's marketing.
Okay, so do you recommend that people kind of, like you say, that was specifically for Apple or specifically for a certain company, a tech company, that they make their resume, directly towards that, like modify it?
Yeah, so and that's and there's a lot of debate in my industry, but I think you should make sure you have it so focused that it's not just one company, but if you do have a target company like Apple or Amazon or one of those, that you kind of understand what their culture is and what, you do some research online, or any online's really, I mean, you can find everything there, and bring some of that into the resume, but if you find yourself kind of shifting because, okay, that didn't work and there's another company, as long as you're focused on your target audience and your target message and what you want, then you can tweak headlines, subheadlines, bullets. Yeah, go ahead and tweak it. But the problem some people have is they want to do some big baseline resume and tweak it heavily for each opportunity. And I'll tell you, then you're probably not focused enough if you're having to rewrite it every time. You really so it's a little bit of both.
Okay. So tell me how the process works. 'Cause I haven't looked for a job ever. I've always kind of worked for myself. So I just look at, to me, this is just an exercise in marketing, getting a customer. Getting a job for me is just like getting a customer, figuring out a way to do that. So I always go to the end user, but a lot of people use recruiters.
Right.
So when you're doing your marketing and your stuff on LinkedIn, are you talking to the end user or are you talking to the recruiter? And is your resume talking to the end user or is the resume talking to the recruiter?
The resume, so LinkedIn and the resume could be either one. Really, the end user, the recruiter is always in mind because some companies require it to go through a recruiter, or that the recruiter is going to, bring the resumes to them. But I would just say keep the ultimate focus is the end user. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So then what do you do? So you have these, so you do both. You do LinkedIn profile, you help them with that, and you do with the hard copy resume, correct?
Okay. Yeah, the hard copy, which, we never print them anymore, except they probably bring them in sometimes. And I do executive biographies, and I call them illustrated bios with their picture. And it's I do like a sweet elevator pitch type, content, cover letters, and all of those pieces.
All right. Have you ever actually given your elevator pitch on an elevator?
I don't think I have.
Nobody has. I have. I always look. In fact, that's my line. That's how I get things started. The doors will shut. I turn around and I say, "Now, has anyone actually given their elevator pitch on an elevator?" And then I ask them to give me theirs. Of course, nobody can do it, but they always ask me for mine.
I love that.
Yeah, stick with me. I mean, all this bonus material you get when you come on my show. All right. Well, this is excellent. So tell me, how does somebody get a hold of you, and who's the perfect customer and all that stuff? How does somebody get a hold of you? I should be able to write it in here, but Chris Stone taught me how to do this.
That's okay. It's careertrend.net. I'm a .net. Is my site. I'm on LinkedIn at Master Resume Writer.
Career is CAREER, right?
Yes.
All right, because I am like Mr. Dyslexia. So.
Understand.
Okay, so that's his test banner. I'm going to take that out. Let's see if this works.
Okay.
Stone will be so proud of me.
Yes.
Oh, look at that. I made it go. Isn't that cool?
Great. Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah. All right. All right. That's cool. All right. So they'll check you out there. And so people that are just C-suite people who are actually just want to see if they're still marketable.
Yeah. To want to invest in their story, want to see if they're marketable. And maybe I had one person recently say, I've never really gotten onto LinkedIn, didn't need to, but now is making a sea change in his career. And he realized that everyone is selling him, wanting to see his LinkedIn profile, and he didn't have one. He wanted to have his brand portfolio. And this is a marketing person, a marketing type person. So,
right. And so they were just chicken.
Yeah. People that just haven't needed to and felt like, oh, I don't want to be out there. And now realize they have to, or they should, or they want to, because they don't want to miss out. And just people who want to get an edge over someone else who's using this kind of storytelling. I mean, you can be better than that other person, but if your story is here and their story is here, then the better person doesn't really win. Just make sure you're not missing out for unnecessary reasons. Plus, it makes you feel really good to have a story that someone else tells that's the truth about you, because we don't take the time to do that about ourselves.
That's right. Now, one last question, because I have to let you. Oh, actually, one statement that's going to help you in your life right now. All right. When you say people who could do this or people who do that, you're not really talking to anybody. But here you are on live, right? So yes. Replace the word people will do this and people do that with you. So if you're the type of person who, and then fill it out, then you should call me. All right. So let's do that right now. Ready? Yeah. So this is a little sales training, right? So who would be the perfect customer for you? And you start it with, well, if you're the type of person, ready? Okay, so who would be the first customers with you?
If you're the type of person who realizes that they are, gosh, this is hard.
You say, all right, you need, just always listen, there's 3 words that shoo people away. And there's 3 words that attract people. The 3 words that shoo people away are I, we, and us, because nobody cares about I, we, and us, right? But they care about you, right? So if you're the type of person that wants to increase your salary and increase your ranking in the C-suite, if you want to grow into that level and that board member, and you're unsure of how you're marketable in the market, you need to go to careertrend.net.
Wow, I love it.
You see that? Okay, so that's what we need to. All right.
Practice.
And then the second question is, and this is even more important. Do you have one of these on yourself?
Do I have
a resume and a story and the whole thing?
So I have a resume, but it's outdated, and I have my own LinkedIn profile though. I do that. So here's the other lesson. If you want to double your business, the first thing you will double your business, because the confidence that you'll get after you'll be able to do it for yourself. Listen, first thing I say when I go to buy a car is I find the salesperson comes up to me and I go, what kind of car do you drive? And if it's a Ford dealership and they're driving a Chevy, that's a problem. Oh, sure. Yes.
Right. Yeah. And the first thing, there were people who sell $1,500 cookware sets to people's houses. The first thing you want to ask them is, what do you cook with? And so, Jacqui Barrett-Poindexter, it's time for you to make a resume for yourself and show it off proudly.
Okay.
All right. I can't tell you how much I appreciate you coming on today. And see, this wasn't so bad. No. It started off, you were a little nervous, but now we're like best friends.
Thank you. Yeah.
All right. So stick around after I stop this thing, but I really want to thank you for coming about. I was looking forward to this. Your picture doesn't do you justice. And when you smile and laugh, you make the world, you make everyone you're in the room shine a little brighter. So thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
All right. Talk to you soon.